Was HBO's The Last of Us better than the video game? To answer that question, we first need to ask ourselves, what made the TV show so successful? One of the biggest advantages to adapting The Last of Us through a TV show is that you're able to break free from the gameplay and storytelling constraints that a video game forces you to have. Keep in mind, while The Last of Us is one of the most acclaimed and highly decorated video games of all time, the gameplay and the story didn't always complement each other to the same degree.
You are literally walking around in the same exact spot.
In certain sections, the shooting, stealth, looting, and crafting mechanics weren't as compelling as the story sequences that followed them. On the other hand, the TV series has the advantage of not having to worry about gameplay mechanics. This allowed the writers to focus on the story and the characters more in depth, something that was slightly limited in the game due to the focus on badass gameplay.
Nice.
Moving beyond that, another key to success for the TV show is that it benefits from a longer story-driven format, which gave Neil Druckmann and Craig Mason the ability to spend more time developing the story and character arcs. In the game, some characters were introduced briefly and then were immediately sent to the Shadow Realm, or in an even worse case scenario, disappeared without a trace. In the TV series, these characters were given more time to develop and become essential to the story's progression. With that said, the biggest benefit that I saw from having this story told through a TV show is the expansion of the lore. You know how I am about my lore. I am a lore fiend, and expanding on it is just an icing on the cake. Some of the best moments in the show are the cold opens, for example, which show you different perspectives on what happened before the outbreak and how other parts of the world reacted to the cordyceps infection. This also fully extends to the characters' backstories. The biggest example of this, for instance, is Frank and Bill's love story. To fully flesh out this relationship in the game at this level of detail, you would have had to read like 500 different diary entries or be given flashbacks. It just wouldn't work. By delving deeper into the nuances of developing a relationship in the middle of the apocalypse, you get full immersion into their specific adventure and narrative, without having to worry about skipping cutscenes in order to go back to shave your next resident clicker in the next room. Again, you don't have to agree with every decision that they took with the HBO show.
This show ain't no good.
A very vocal section of the gaming community was very angry at the fact that they changed the method of infection for the TV adaptation. Just in case you don't remember, quick recap. In The Last of Us Part 1, the cordyceps infection spreads via spores as an airborne virus, providing some intense horror action set pieces where you have to wear a gas mask and you have to worry about getting Joel infected through the spores. In this version of The Last of Us, the virus spreads via chemical connections that are made through mycelium chicken tenders. Nice. In this version of The Last of Us, the virus spreads via chemical connections made through mycelium tendrils. It's a minor change that proves to be a world of a difference. Since all the infected are connected through chemical connections made by these tendrils, one small mistake, like stepping on some wacky-ass branch in the middle of a building, can alert the entire horde, which is definitely going to ruin your day. Simply put, The Last of Us TV show was such a success because it was able to take the strengths of the game, from its compelling story and characters to its intense horror-inspired action set pieces, and present them in a format that can explore those elements to greater depths. The biggest thing that separates the game and the TV show is the action. As you progress through the game, you are thrusted into seemingly endless amounts of violence.
Hey, asshole!
Almost every single level in the game features fights against the infected or other humans. The show strays away from that. Obviously, going through 15 hours of going room by room, shivving clickers and fighting other humans, eviscerating everything in your path is not going to make sense for a condensed television narrative. Having those intense action moments constantly made you bond with Ellie to a greater extent though, overcoming obstacles and trusting each other in order to survive. With that said, in some cases, having less of that violence makes the climactic moments within the show hit that much harder. Easiest example, the moment where Joel questions David's goons about Ellie's whereabouts. By this point in the game, you know Joel is him and will not waste a single second before turning these two idiots into sashimi. But in the show, the lack of these gruesome constant moments makes you evaluate Joel's mental state that much deeper. And you have to question yourself, has this animalistic side of Joel always been there, or is he cracking under the circumstances? If you made it to this part in the video, I think you know by now this is 1000% a personal opinion. To me, The Last of Us video video game is almost a perfect piece of media, and of course, I'm gonna pick it over the TV show.
That was a compliment.
Specifically because it was able to complement, at least to some degree, those action horror-inspired set pieces with thought-provoking story elements. However, when it comes to developing the narrative structure of this world, I do believe that the TV show did this story a greater service. It hit all of the major story beats perfectly, and in some cases, it even surpassed them. That is exactly why I think The Last of Us TV show is one of the best live-action video game adaptations. It allowed the creative minds that crafted the source material to have fun with a new medium and elaborate on the story that we all know and love. I am a gamer at heart, so The Last of Us Part 1 will always have a soft spot in my little corazon. With that said, homie, if The Last of Us Season 2 is able to do Part 2 justice at this level, I might just end up switching up. Do you agree? Do you think I'm capping? Do you like the show or the game better? Let me know in the comments down below.